When you look at my channel, you might notice a prevalence of videos about a certain game. But did you know that I like other games too? Why, you might ask, am I taking a week off my life to make a video no one will watch? Because I have a goblin in my brain that won't let me rest until I do. So, without further ado, here's part 1 of 4 of why the games of developer Supergiant Games are incredible, with some of them being my all-time favorites. Let me start by establishing the baseline of what we're reviewing these games off of. In my eyes, there are 4 parts that make a Supergiant game a Supergiant game: music, world building, character writing, and gameplay. Music is pretty straightforward. All of these games have great soundtracks, but they also come with something a lot of game soundtracks don't: lyrics. There's like words in some of these songs, and it's brilliant. I'll mainly be talking about the songs with lyrics, because there's actually stuff to talk about. World building is a bit more complicated, but not by much. All of these games thrive off of intricate, new worlds. Character writing is another exciting one. These games are filled with characters that feel like real people, that I care about, that I have crushes on, which is all due to their writing. Gameplay is the most substantial one, being what you actually do in the game, so it's also the most self-explanatory. Now that we have that groundwork, let's maybe get into what this video is supposed to be about. Supergiant's first game, released in 2011, Bastion. Bastion's soundtrack is beautiful and I love it. It has a certain vibe to it that I can't really explain, but you can feel it. And the game knows it has great music. The first song on the soundtrack directly talks about how good the music in Cylondia was. The song Build That Wall demonstrates a part of the music I want to touch on, how it actually relates to the story instead of just being background for it. The song is Zia singing to 2 beings, the protagonist and the city of Cylondia. She tells them, "Gonna build that wall until it's done, but now you've got nowhere to run." This references the rippling walls surrounding the city and how when the wall was finished, the citizens had nowhere to go. They trapped themselves. However, this line has a deeper meaning to the protagonist. He was born ostracized and eventually orphaned, so he signed up to help build the wall. Once he was done with his shift, he signed up a second time to help build the wall, since he had nowhere else to go. So, once he finishes the wall, he has nowhere to run and has to face reality. I also think that Mother, I'm Here deserves a major shout out. It literally makes me choke up every time I listen to it. And of course, Setting Sail, Coming Home is a beautiful mixing of Ashley Barrett and Darren Korb's voices, and a great send-off to a great game. The world is amazing and I want to live in it. Okay, maybe not after the calamity, but maybe before it. Supergiant crafted a believable yet magical world in this game. The Nation of Cylondia, as we're told through Zia's theme, was supposed to be a shining city on a hill, but it was plagued by problems from without and within. I could compare their reactions to groups like the Ura to real life, but I don't want to get too depressing. The point is, I don't think humanity is at the level the Cylondians went to, at least not yet. Anyway, the world is very human, but still remains with a sense of magic. It's connected through item descriptions, such as the ancient spices or the child's drawing. Items like these make the world feel alive, and like it exists beyond your experience with it. Rux talks about groups like the Breakers or Slingers that explored the wild unknown, where many levels of the game take place. Other areas of the game also have importance to the world building, like Burstone Quarry, which was used by Cylondia to harvest cores. Even the existence of things like the Pantheon make things work. Of course Cylondia would have their own religion. All of these are reminding me of a certain other game. Any game that can make binary choices that don't really matter to the ending, this dramatic and hard, is doing something right. I'm going to be using the choice to save Zulf or not at the end of the game as an example here. Zulf, literally speaking, was a traitor. He led the Ura to the Bastion and caused it to be destroyed. But, like the game says, and yet. 2 words should not have this much power and cause this much internal debate. And this choice doesn't even affect the ending beyond him not showing up in the credit scenes, and it doesn't affect it at all in the restoration ending. So why is it so hard? Because we're attached to Zulf. We know who he is and his motivation makes sense. In short, his character writing is what makes this choice difficult. But he's not the only character with great writing. Rux is a character introduced as the narrator, so he's a bit detached. But as we slowly learn, he's a rather morally gray character. He only tells the player important details, like he was the one to build the Bastion, and that his entire goal was to reset the world to before the calamity, once we have no choice but to finish the job and get the final shard. He's been manipulating us the entire game to get the ending he wants, no matter what the kid might want. When you choose the evacuation ending, Rux expresses his surprise, saying, "You could have undone the calamity itself, but instead you chose to stay, in a world like this." I have to say, I have mixed feelings on the combat here. I love the mechanic of having multiple weapons that you can swap out, causing you to develop your own playstyle. Some people might like ranged weapons like the bow and mortar, while others may like the short-range weapons like the katana and hammer. The movement also feels good, although it can be a bit clunky and there are bullshit enemies like the birds and frogs. It took me a while to get decent at the game, and I'm still not great. One thing I really appreciate though is the lack of a hard mode that's just more health and less damage. Instead, they gave us a mechanic that's shown up in every game so far, in some form. Idols in Bastion, Limiters in Transistor, Titan Stars in Pyre, and the Pact of Punishment in Hades. They let you make certain elements harder, while giving you a reward in return, usually more experience. The mythology here serves the combat as well as the world building. Although, the new Game Plus mode is kinda weird. Why are you giving the player the Calamity Cannon in the first level? Wait, you're still watching? Thanks, I guess. In conclusion, Bastion is a great game. I would definitely recommend it. I'm going to be doing the rest of these over a long period of time because these take a long time and a lot of energy, 2 things I don't really have anymore. Anyway, like, subscribe, and maybe I'll get the next part out before 2030.